Big hand for Sierra.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for that nice intro. I went to Enterprise last night and passed by and saw all the tents, and I didn't realize this is where we were coming, or where I was coming today, and we're like, oh, I wonder what's going on there. Look at all the tents. And then I drove over and was like, hey, it's all the tents. Yeah, so they invited me just to stop by because I'm playing a concert tonight at the OK Theater down in Enterprise. So come up a little bit early to visit with you guys, and I know our time is sort of limited, but I just figured we'd dive right in with any questions. Of course, she gave a little bit of my background there. I did start playing mandolin when I was 8 years old. Mostly grew up playing bluegrass music. Seems like you guys have a little bit of bluegrass here at this camp, but maybe a little bit of everything. So maybe you guys are interested in all kinds of music. As I've gotten older, I certainly have as well. Found myself trying to dive into a large variety of styles, and certainly having an admiration for a lot of different genres, though I feel like bluegrass music for me has kind of been the foundation. So I grew up playing a lot of fiddle tunes, which I assume you guys have been jamming on since camp started. So. Yeah, so I'm here for you guys. Whatever you want to talk about, if there's anything that I can dive into with you guys musically, that's why I'm here. So feel free to ask anything that's on your heart. So I'll ask for questions.
I think it's important to play fiddle tunes on a mandolin, and you can be better at bluegrass.
Are you pulling my leg?
No.
I have to ask. He's got that straight face. I wasn't sure. First, that was what I thought I wanted to play. My dad was very much interested in music and was trying to learn. I grew up hearing music in church, singing in church, and my dad would play guitar, and so music was always kind of a part of my life from an early age. But it was when I was around 7 years old that my dad bought a mandolin and started getting interested in bluegrass music. And when I was I just turned 8 years old, and Christmas was right around the corner, and so I asked for a fiddle, because I thought I wanted to learn to play something. My older brother Cody was learning to play, and he's my only sibling. I wanted to do everything he did, of course. So I thought, okay, well maybe I'll learn to play fiddle. But I got one for Christmas, and it was a full size. It was really just too big for me to handle. I was a tiny 8-year-old anyway. And so my dad, who had just bought a mandolin and was learning to play a little bit, said, well, they're tuned alike, so, and I think this was just to save my disappointment, but he said, why don't I just show you a couple tunes on the mandolin, and you'll know at least where to put your fingers when you get a fiddle. And I just happened to fall immediately in love with the mandolin, and I wish I could play fiddle, y'all, I really do.
Me too.
But mandolin, what's that? That's right, it's not too late, you're right. There's still hope for me in the fiddle world. A lot of tunes, like I remember one of the first songs I learned, Old Joe Clark, tunes like Red Haired Boy, these instrumental pieces that, you know, you may play them on the fiddle, you may play them on the mandolin, guitar players play them, but we all kind of refer to them as fiddle tunes. And so that was really what I immediately started learning before anything. I remember learning a handful of those, and that was kind of what immediately made me fall in love with the music. So for me, certainly that was the experience I had, was learning to play them on the mandolin. But I think, as a fiddle player, I have friends that started there, and that's what they started out learning. I had friends that were guitar players, and if you want to be a guitar player, maybe you can start out learning Red Haired Boy on the guitar and find these different versions. So I don't know that I would say that you need to necessarily learn them on, an instrument where you're flat picking them, or, for me, because I was playing mandolin, that was kind of my focus. I just feel like no matter what instrument you're interested in focusing on, fiddle tunes can be a great, and Irish music, I see you guys have some Irish classes too. Irish music is another kind of tradition of all those Irish tunes that people know and get in a circle and play together, and a very similar thing. There's hundreds of them you can learn, and so for me it was learning those fiddle tunes on the mandolin was extremely helpful for getting me going. So sure. All right, who's learning Angelina Baker? All of y'all? Cool. Well, that's a tune I certainly remember learning to play. Let's see, maybe I'll stand up to play them to the mic here, because I don't think it's going to go any lower.
tell us about your mandolin, what year and where you got it?
Sure, I got this mandolin when it was about a month old. I was really fortunate to get my first Gibson mandolin from Gibson when I was 12 years old, and which was huge for me because certainly my parents, instruments are a lot of money, so I don't think we could have afforded that mandolin at the time had they not given me that instrument, which was very nice of them. So I've had a long-standing relationship with Gibson. I played another mandolin. I played that mandolin for about 4 years, and then played another brand for several years, and then started kind of talking to them again about maybe exploring my options for another mandolin. So I went in and tried probably about 10 different mandolins, and at the time, do you guys know who Ricky Skaggs is? The bluegrass country singer? So he's one of my mandolin heroes too, and Gibson did a line of mandolins. They were a limited edition of 50 Ricky Skaggs distressed model mandolins. So they're really old looking and beautiful mandolins, but basically built upon one of their standard models that they make, often called the master model. So it's basically the Skaggs distressed as a master model with a few little changes to it, like it looking more distressed, had a smaller neck. There were certain things about when I got to try that mandolin that I really fell in love with, but they only made a limited edition of them. So this was kind of the closest thing that I could get to that particular thing at the time, and this is a master model. I got this in 2009. It was built by a guy named Dave Harvey, who's a great luthier that's worked for Gibson for years in Nashville. And so when I got this instrument, there were a few things that we did to kind of play off the fact that I really liked that Ricky Skaggs distress model. He gave it an aged finish, so I've played it nonstop since 2009, so most of the wear and tear you see, I've just played a lot. But if you were to look really closely, there's what's called an aged finish, whereas most of the master models don't have that, so you can see a slight little crackle in the wood. I had him, for you mandolin players out there, maybe you have experienced this when you play different mandolins, but when the fretboard extends all the way down here and the frets are still in, sometimes you can get that clicky noise when you play. Hear that? So I actually had him to scoop this part of the fretboard extension out, which is pretty common. A lot of people do that these days, or sometimes they just cut it off, but he was able to scoop this one deep enough so that I could still have that character of the mandolin and the look of it. So that's scalloped right there, and then the neck on this mandolin is slightly smaller than what you'd find on an average master model. So a little bit smaller. I have small hands, so I kind of like the feel of that, and had him take the finish off the back of the neck, which just makes it a little cleaner, especially if you're playing outdoors, and if you've ever went to go slide on something and the finish is still on the back, it sort of gets sticky, and so having that sort of sanded off, it just makes for a cleaner feeling neck. So that's basically it. Yeah, it's 2009.
What is your preference for strings?
So these strings, I've used a lot of different strings along the way. The last few years I've been using Diodario. It's a company, they make lots of folk strings and guitar and banjo and all kinds of stuff. These are EXPs 74s, so EXP 74s. They're essentially a coated string. So a non-coated string tends to die a little bit quicker, start to sound a little bit better.
Is that the set that has 11.5, 11.5?
This one's just 11.
Just
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're a medium gauge. It may sound funny, but I absolutely mean it when I say when I started playing the mandolin, I knew that was totally what I wanted to do with my life. I was still 9 years old. I got my first Alison Krauss album and just fell, deeply in love with her music and the band's music. And she had a guy named Adam Steffi, who's been one of my big mandolin heroes in the band on some of those earlier records. And so after discovering her music, and it's like she became my biggest hero ever. I just absolutely adored, and it was my dream to get to play with her at some point. And so my dad would say stuff to me sometimes when I'd be getting kind of lazy. He would encourage me. He'd say, "Oh, you ought to work on trying to learn that Adam Steffi solo," because that's what I was listening to all the time. So I'd be in there trying to learn it, and I might go through periods of laziness, and my dad would say, "Well, Sierra, it kind of seems like you've been a little lazy lately. he goes, I mean, you know what's going to happen. One of these days, Alison Krauss is going to call you to come play with her, and you're not going to be ready. And so I'd go, oh, yeah, okay. I got invited to this thing called IBMA. If you guys know about IBMA, it's the International Bluegrass Music Association, and they have like a conference it's in Raleigh, North Carolina every year now. And so it lasts for about a week, and pretty much most people that love bluegrass music and a lot of bands gather there, and so that was one of the first places I met a lot of my heroes. And I got invited when I'd been playing about a year, I got invited to come be part of a kids showcase there. Kids on Bluegrass is what they called it. And so just being invited to go to something like that and go, oh, Ricky Skaggs just got off the elevator. Oh my goodness, Sam Bush. You know, it was like a little heaven for a little mandolin player. And I got to meet Earl Scruggs that first year. And I remember he wasn't jamming, but it was, somebody invited me to come to this hotel room where he was hanging out and some different musicians were jamming, and he said, well, hey, you know, play us a tune. So I got my mandolin out and I'm playing, and I'd only been playing about a year. I mean, I was learning a lot of fiddle tunes, but didn't really know too many just yet. And so he said, do you know Pike County Breakdown? And I said, oh, I don't think I've ever heard that one. And then I went back and I told my mandolin teacher at the time, I said, I've got to learn Pike County Breakdown because Earl Scruggs asked me if I knew it and I didn't know it. And he goes, you know, he wrote that one. And I was like, oh no, I haven't even ever heard that one. Yeah, you know, it's a banjo tune, obviously sounds wonderful on the banjo, so I'll give it its best mandolin version here. It's a repeating melody, so. That's basically it. You know, it's one of those that it's a similar it's a similar melody. And then you kind of learn that and add little things around it. You know? Red-haired boy goes like. A, D, A, quick E, back to A. Okay, it has a G in the middle of it too, the G. Okay, so that's, you know, throwing that G in there, that's sometimes one more chord than you might get in a bluegrass song. A lot of times if you're in A, you might just have A, D, and E. You know, and that's typical of a lot of songs, and the more you learn, the more you'll find how they all kind of connect together. Fiddle tunes typically have an A-B structure, so you'll play through the main part of the tune. A lot of Irish tunes are like this too. You'll play. Okay, it does the. This is still all within the first A. It does it again. Different ending this time. Okay, once you learn that, then it's like that's the A part. Then you repeat it, the exact same thing. Okay, then you learn the B part. Still the B part. Hey, sounds like the A part too. Okay, then repeat that again. So a lot of these are AA, BB structures. I mean, not everything's like that, but a huge part of them are. And they have these similar melodies that kind of interweave sometimes in the A part and the B part. So the A part alone quotes the same melody twice. B part tags with the same melody from the A part. So you'll come to find, okay, well I can play this song pretty good, I've learned this. So then let's think about the Fox. Okay, do you guys know that song?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think how it goes. Out on chilling, grateful when we get in the okay, so it doesn't have a G in there, but whatever. Okay, so let's think. You know, if we were singing that song, it's not a good key for me, but. Automatically. I mean, there's like you're in the key of A, and I just played Red-Haired Boy, okay? So if you play Red-Haired Boy on your solo to the Fox, somebody's gonna go, ha, Red-Haired Boy. But you could go, I mean, you can play around those same notes that are in Red-Haired. Now, obviously, I'm doing it faster. You can just to show the example, but practice taking the ideas from these fiddle tunes, you know, that use all the same chords, and extract these melodies. I mean, something like the tagline, and different people play them different ways. So I'm not saying if you learn Red-Haired Boy, you're going to learn to play it exactly like I learned it, but it's going to be similar. You know, the similar parts of the melody are still there. And there's probably going to be some tag, even if it's not the exact same thing as this. I mean, I can think of 20 songs you could put that ending on. Vocal songs, you know? So the more tunes like that you learn, you start realizing that really you know more than you think you know. You just don't really know quite how to apply it yet. And so it goes without saying that the more time you spend with the instrument, the quicker and easier it's going to be for you to pick out melodies and know where the notes are, know where the sounds are. So, you know, if you sing a melody, you can start to understand, okay, well, if my voice goes da-da-da, you know, you can start to become familiar with the instrument and the sound of the way your voice goes up. Well, the instrument is the same way, you know. If you're here and you know, you're looking da-da, you know, it starts to make sense over time, but it's I just always like to encourage people and remind everybody that they say it takes, you know, 10,000 hours to really become an expert at anything. And so don't be too hard on yourself, you know. I know you people are really brilliant people in all kinds of areas, and maybe you're not a full-time musician. Maybe you don't even want to be. Maybe you just want to learn to play enough to have fun, and that's cool too. But it really, the more time you put into it, the easier it's going to become, and the better you're going to become at it. Yeah.
Tell us about your pick.
As far as this particular pick I'm using, I used to use a teardrop shape, which is, you know, not quite as big as this one. This is more of a triangle. This is called the BlueChip, and I've used this company for several years now, long before anybody really knew who they were. Matt, the guy that does this company, gave me one of these picks years ago, and it just had a phone number on it. And I remember going, wow, this is kind of a good pick. This particular one is called a TAD 60. I used a CT55 for years, got this one back in April, been using it. Before that I used the same company but used a teardrop shape, so it really just depends on what works for you. I've always used the point. Some people use a more rounded edge. You know, David Grisman uses a rounded edge. That's never really worked for myself, and I think it's kind of what you get used to, but one thing I can say that whether you use the point or the rounded edge that pretty much all my mandolin heroes have in common would be that they use a pick that doesn't bend. So you don't want your pick to be too thick or too thin. You want it to be at least thick enough that if you're pushing on it a little bit, that it's not, you know, flexing too much. And the reason for that is because if, you know, the goal is, the pick is nothing more than a tool to create sound. You know, we don't want to hear the pick itself, but the pick will make noise depending on the type of pick you have or the way you hold it. So thick pick, thicker pick helps that. You know, it also helps with speed because a thin pick has to move more to compensate. You know, if you think about it going on a string, if it's having to do this and always bend back into place, I mean, obviously it's happened quicker than our eye could really see, but it makes sense if you think about it that a slightly thicker pick just is more balanced.
With tremolo too?
Tremolo too, yeah. I use the same pick for everything. Now my grip may change slightly, may become a little looser on tremolo, but for the most part, definitely same pick. As far as just how to, I'm sure we're probably creeping up on time, but as far as to how to hold the pick, I always tell people if you hold the pick, the point of the pick in your left hand, and you hold your right hand out like you're going to shake somebody's hand, and you kind of relax your fingers in. Take the pick and put it at a slight angle, so it's kind of more like this. So I know some of you in the back maybe can't see, but my finger's not going, it's going at an angle on the back of the pick. And then relax your thumb down more straight. And for me, it's more across the middle. And everybody's got different hand sizes, so it's going to look slightly different on you than it does me. But you can kind of see that's about how it works for me. I will say the amount of pick you choose to use and the grip you have can really change your tone a lot. So just a quick little example. I mean, that's about how I would normally hold it. You don't really hear too much pick there. I mean, okay, now I'm going to keep my, it's a fairly relaxed grip. I mean, obviously you don't want the pick to be able to pull out, but I'm not holding it tight. It's very relaxed, and that's important too. Some people feel like they have to really dig in there, but you want to be relaxed. I'm going to do nothing more than just use more pick for a second. So same grip, same level of relaxedness, but I've got a lot more pick, so listen to the difference in this. Hear how you hear more pick and it's a thinner tone than when I just make a small adjustment of bringing the pick in, bring my hand in a little closer on the pick. So, yeah, play around with it. I mean, and it depends on what you're trying to achieve, really. But that's sort of been some things that I can offer up to at least, look at.
From small town girl to Allison Krauss, what was that jump for you? Was it being exposed to the?
You mean how did it happen?
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of, because I believe it's just, sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time, and you get good opportunities. So I'm not sure that I can, just say exactly. We didn't, obviously that was my dream from an early age. I mean, I drew pictures of myself on the stage with Allison at the Grand Ole Opry. When I was like 9 years old, I would draw her in art class all the time. I mean, she was like my big hero. But I think, it's just a matter of me going to these jams and one person telling another person, and then they'd say, hey, do you want to come play at this? And then somebody else seeing me there, hey, do you want to come play at this? And my parents, taking me. And when I got invited to go to IBMA, the event that I was talking about where I met Earl Scruggs and met them, Ron Block, who has been a member of Allison's band for 25 plus years, was there. And I was kind of wondering if I would get to meet any of them there. And so in walks Ron Block, and we're practicing for our kids jam, and we took a break for a minute, and I went over and was like, hi, I'm a big fan, blah, blah, and he was so sweet and played a tune with me, and he's such a wonderful guy. I mean, he sat down and jammed with me for a while. He came and stopped by our hotel room, because the way it works is at IBMA is usually there's like everybody kind of just staying in a hotel, and there's music all in the lobby of the hotel and the convention center, and it's just everywhere. So he, come by and played some tunes with my brother and I, and I mean, honestly, it's so long ago I don't remember, but all I know is Allison called our house and invited me to come play. And it was like, I guess he told her about me, and somehow she just took a chance and called me up, which is a very sweet thing for somebody to do. And then, and that was a big thing for me at the time, especially, not only because that was my dream, but the Grand Ole Opry used to be on television at that time, and he was on CMT, so, a lot of people after all that, if I would be out playing somewhere, are you that little girl I saw on TV with House of Grass? You know, so it's certainly that opened up a lot of doors, but that just was through, I think, her being a very generous lady. And, you know, a lot of hard work, I guess, and sticking with it for a long time. Okay.
Use a keyboard or
World tour.
Oh! You're talking about the washing machine. Well, my now husband, that was his house at the time. We've upgraded a little, and I had practice with the new washing machine. I think it was a Whirlpool, maybe. I think so. Yeah.
That's my problem.
Yeah, you know, you can really find rhythm a lot of different places, and I decided to play along with the backbeat of the washing machine one day. It had a pretty good bluegrass beat, not gonna lie. It was fast, a little too fast for me, but. Yeah, well, I know you guys got exciting things happening around camp, so thanks for having me today, and I hope you guys enjoy.